Welcome, everyone. We're just going to give it a couple more seconds and let people filter in. Welcome from wherever you are joining us. We'd love to know where that is. Please feel free to use the chat. I'm so grateful to have some friends and colleagues joining me for a conversation today. And I'll kick things off. Thank you for being here. Welcome to the SPEAK Alumni conversation. I'm going to give you a little bit of context before I introduce these amazing guests. My name is Charlene Sinjenko. I'm the founder of PowHERhouse, and I'm really pleased to welcome you. I'm hosting this conversation from the lands of the Mayan people in Puerto Morelos, Mexico. So praying that the technology and the Wi-Fi gods are with us today. Before I introduce the alumni, I wanted to just share a bit of background so you would understand why it was important for me to have this conversation. If you're brand new to PowHERhouse, we are an Indigenous-owned social impact network. We have worked for over a decade to empower women leaders and change makers in the space of articulating, activating, amplifying the impact they're here to make in their lives. And from 2015 to 2019, we elevated over 200 speakers through a national PowHERtalks Speaker Series, through PowHERlunch events, and through a capacity building program that you're going to hear a little bit more about today called Speak Canada. We're absolutely dedicated to expanding possibility, and you're going to hear a little bit more about what that has looked and felt like for these guests. A little bit about Speak. It is a proven program. We took what we heard over those years and those experiences, and we integrated it back into a capacity building opportunity. And now I'm excited to relaunch this program. It's called Speak 2.0 Global, and I'll be talking just a little bit more about that at the end of the conversation. But for now, super excited and grateful to have some time today with women and leaders who have walked through this program to be able to introduce them to you, folks that I know, folks that I've met, and also some brand new folks that I don't know. And we're going to hear a little bit about who they are, a little bit about their work in the world, their experience through Speak, as well as their overall leadership experience and what they're most looking forward to in 2025. So before I open it up to them, I'm going to just do some brief introductions of each of them, and then kind of encourage them to build on what I've said and let us know a little bit more about them. So I will start at the top of my screen, actually. Well, it's the top of my screen with Marianne Bell. Marianne is a business and project management consultant who works virtually with leaders, navigating the delivery of strategy with projects. She's the guide by a leader's side who sees beyond the surface of people, where people really want to go, and coaches them through that growth and experience. And we're going to hear a little bit more about Marianne shortly. And next up, Kelly Vitti is a heart-centered listener and empowerment coach who helps businesses, both large and small, to unlock the full potential, their full potential, by bringing out the best in their people. And really excited to have Kelly here today. I'd like to welcome Julia McElgan, who is joining us from Calgary. She is an oil and gas professional who advocates for the Canadian oil and gas industry, creating dialogues on integrating economic, sustainable, and social impact. And finally, today, I'd like to introduce you to Jasmine Benson. Jasmine is a world traveler, an adventurer, and a disruptor. She's known for delivering no-nonsense strategies that leaders can use immediately that combined psychology, physiology, and neuroscience to help leaders to make meaningful change. And Jasmine, while I have you up on the screen, maybe we'll kind of go in reverse order, but I would love for you to expand on that a little bit. Where we're finding you, what else would you like to know about you right now?
Sure. Thanks, Shar. Thanks for having me today. It's great to be here with everyone. So just a little bit more about me. I am currently sitting in Vietnam, in Da Nang, and we'll be back in North America at the end of the year and then in Thailand for the next 5. So I work remotely. At this point, I'm 46 and I am semi-retired. I take on very few clients, living overseas and loving it. Over the years, I've worked really hard at integrating work and life. So not work-life balance, but really weaving it all together. I love that because I can be me in all arenas of my life. So my work is primarily with senior leaders, CEOs. I help them, as you said, leverage neuroscience to empower themselves to move forward, to lead more effectively, grow people around them. I take a whole human approach and help them see how even their physical state, for example, impacts their decision-making and how catchy they are to the people around them. So we disrupt old habits and create new habits in order to create new ways of showing up and new paths forward. We often take unconventional approaches, and those end up being shortcuts to get where they want to go. Everything aligns with neuroscience and empowering how human beings actually change. So at the end of the day, it's all about habits. Over 92% of the time, you're actually just, in automatic mode, operating on your habits unconsciously at least that much. So we work together to shift those automatic habits to habits that will actually help them get where they want to go.
I love that. I love everything about that, especially intentionally building new habits. Yeah. Thank you so much, Jasmine, for being here. All right. Next up, maybe I will bump back to Kira's waiting for me. I'm waiting for her. Let's bump back to Marianne. Marianne, tell us a little bit more. What else would you like us to know? Elaborate a bit more on your introduction.
So, yeah, I mean, I just recently, left my position working with the College of Medicine, where I was working on strategic projects, and I just, I work with, leaders to create a project success plan that is going to help them get their projects unstuck. So developing strategies for how to get those projects unstuck if they've stalled, and identify what are the right people, processes, technology that they need to enable them to successfully deliver their project. And I do this virtually. I recently left my position, like I said. Now I'm working for myself. I do contract work currently, and I think I'll let you know a little bit more about what I'm excited for in the future. But that's really where I'm at. And I'm just outside of Saskatoon, in Warman, Saskatchewan, and that's pretty much me.
Yeah, and what I heard and what I know of you, Marianne, is about helping energy to get unstuck, whether that's with, amongst a team and you feel it in a project, and also that ability to kind of sense into where people really want to go, which is also the kind of that tricky balance, leading that forward. So yeah, thank you so much. I'm going to jump over to my friend Julia McElgan from Calgary. Julia, what else can you share about you?
Thanks, Charlene. So I am a geologist by training, and I have spent my career looking for oil and gas, and I work out of Calgary, Alberta. I dominantly worked for small, mid-sized, and larger corporations. And I'm at the point now in my career where I am really looking at a change that is trying to impact, and instead of trying to impact on like this big scale, is trying to really impact on a little bit of a smaller scale and sort of more in my circle. And what I love about geology is that I always called it the forensics of science. And so you're always looking for these little bits of information and keys to try to unlock what's in the earth. And as we're moving from this energy transition of trying to be fully reliable on fossil fuels and looking at renewable energies, geology is such a big part of that. And even though the conversations around oil and gas might not always be super positive, I'm really glad that I am on this side, understanding it from both the earth science perspective and also from the oil and gas industry, as we then move into looking at more of a renewable energy source for the future.
Thank you so much. Yeah. Well, I won't share any speak stories quite yet, but I will say that I am so grateful for everything that I have learned from you and with you about your industry, and broadened my understanding of your work. So yeah, just really grateful for that. Kelly Beatty, I would love for you to share a little bit about who you are in the world, a little bit more about your work and what you've been up to.
Well, hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us. So with Beyond Connections, I work as an empowerment coaching consultant. So I do coaching and consulting of individuals and really small to medium business sized leaders who are working to grow their company. So often it's someone who's starting from an idea or a product in a small venue or even at their kitchen tables a lot of times, and now they're growing to have employees and they don't know how to navigate that. So really, I work with them to integrate their human resources and all the strategies, policies, and processes that are needed there, and then integrating into that process improvement. So helping them create processes that work for everyone, that are duplicatable, that eliminate what is not necessary so they can be efficient, productive, and really housing happy homes to their employees. I really believe that every organization has a heart, and that heart is their people. And so in the work that I do, I always start with that from my own experiences. If the heart doesn't function properly, neither do the systems. So I really work with them to build their leadership capacity and grow that. I also am a speaker and do quite a few keynote addresses beyond the consulting that I do individually with businesses and leaders. So
Thank you. Yeah, I love what you said about being able to build capacity. Yeah, it's one thing to start a business, but it's certainly another thing to grow that business and to work with people in that business. So having someone that can walk beside you is so important. Well, I met each and all of these amazing women. It's 6 years ago now. I was actually doing the math the other day. It's hard to believe it's 6 years. But when we first walked through our SPEAK program, and there was a number of other people that were also in that cohort. I think there's a couple of different cohorts that are represented here, if I'm not mistaken. And the first question that I wanted to kind of open it up to, to kind of pass around and have a bit of a conversation on is just looking back at your experience of SPEAK, especially with the context of, knowing that I've purposely called SPEAK 2.0, speaking possibility into reality. That's not a mistake. I'm wondering if you could share with us, as you look back to that experience 6 years ago, how it shifted or guided or maybe complemented your leadership journey, your professional journey, maybe your personal journey, to where you are now. Because we always say, oh, it's so much easier to look back, right? So you actually get the opportunity to do that today. So maybe if it's okay with you, I'll start with Kelly this time around. And Kelly, if you want, we can just popcorn it after you to others, just to share some thoughts about that.
Absolutely. Thank you. I think it was really interesting the first time Shara and I spoke, and you talked to me about Speak. And I was like, Shara, I'm speaking all the time. In my role as a frontline leader in healthcare at that time, I had also been doing a lot of training and facilitation. And so to me, I was struggling. I was in front of people all the time, large groups. And when I got to thinking about it and joined it, I really realized what it did for me. I think it's easy to stand in front and to deliver something that is educational. I think it's that perspective of, a lot of times when you're facilitating that, there's a lot of interaction. For me, it gave me a different sense of how I could be speaking, the approach that was needed, and the different delivery that went with it. So I think it gave me a confidence that I didn't have in that arena. And it opened up that experience and that journey, and has really opened up how I've approached my business, and an area that perhaps I wouldn't have seen at that time outside of training and facilitation. Really now doing some keynotes, the deliveries that I'm super passionate about, that allowed me to take my own story and to deliver it to help others as well. And I don't know at that time that I would have ever seen myself doing that. Julia, tell us about yours.
Thanks, Kelly. So I think came at it with a similar approach to you. I was always very comfortable talking in front of a crowd, a group of people basically about the science that I put into geology. But I recognized that the SPEAK program got me to become very comfortable talking about a topic that wasn't necessarily popular or seen positively. And so it really gave me some room to pause and create a more thoughtful approach around oil and gas specifically, and really how to come across as not being too conflicting, and yet be very direct and open up about what it is that I was doing and what we were doing within oil and gas. And then also to be very curious about someone else's perspective and really try to understand from their perspective why there was this big roadblock, or why it was a big no, and why it was so bad. And so with that, really, I got a lot of confidence practicing within the Speak platform to try to iterate and refine and re-communicate my message over and over again. And so now there is a true foundation that I stand on, and there's always that confidence that comes through. And I always remember back to how difficult it was to be on screen, just like here, saying, hey, I'm an oil and gas geologist, and having a whole bunch of people being not really sure why I was there. and really getting over that hurdle and building a friendship around it. And so having that practice is I think the biggest gift that Speak gave me, and being able to share that vulnerability in a very safe environment. And so I think from that perspective, I'd like to hear from Marianne what your experience was.
Well, unlike the two of you, I did not enjoy speaking in public. I did it because I had to do it. but it really, I feel, held me back in my career. I had sort of hit a bit of a ceiling, and I knew that I wanted to move my career forward, work on larger projects, and just grow my leadership development, consulting and coaching and training aspect of what I was passionate about. But because of that fear, it sort of held me back. And so I had the opportunity to join SPEAK as part of my career development at work. And I remember when Charlene said, "Oh, like, do you want to like do your mini keynote in front of an audience, or do you want to do it, just in front of the class?" I'm like, "Wow, I really don't want to do it in front of an audience, but let's do it." So, it was like stepping out of my comfort zone for me, but it really gave me that confidence and the tools to speak in public. And it also really helped me shift my relationship with speaking to where I embraced it, especially when I was speaking on topics that I was passionate about. And over to you, Jasmine.
Sure, I'll take it from here. For me, my experience at SPEAK was really a springboard. So at first, going into the program, I just wanted to be a bit more confident, talking on the stage, getting more clear on, what I was there for and what I was talking about. And really, I got so much more than that. I was a corporate senior leader and quite successful at the time when I joined SPEAK. But I was really scared of being in the spotlight. And fear would just totally take me over. When I even thought about, being on stage, I just, how could I even do that? Even going through the SPEAK program and practicing my talk, if you take a look on YouTube, it's actually really embarrassing. But if you take a look on YouTube, you'll see my first SPEAK video. You can hardly even understand my name because I could hardly even say it still, but I had made so much progress. So really the program, I could say, helped me find my voice and zone in on the impact that I wanted to make and what my superpowers were also, and just what I wanted to accomplish. And of course, all of that has evolved dramatically over time. But the guidance and practice that I had at SPEAK enabled me to build real skills and confidence to move myself and my business forward. And as I changed and grew, everything changed around me as well. So I think really it gave me, the gift of seeing what's possible, as you said, Shar. And then I was able to bring that vision into my own reality with practice and real work. And over again, in my journey over the last 6 years, that's been true. And I met some great people along the way as well. So thanks for that.
Wow. Thank you all for sharing. I love your answers. I think that, when people would come in to speak, they would think that they were going to get skills about better presentation with a PowerPoint. And really, the program was designed to have you connect with who you really are at a soul level and what you're here to do in the world, and to be able to articulate that first to yourself, and then hopefully to a safe space with the cohort, the group that you're in. And then ultimately, publicly, it's almost like a declaration. There's a sense of conviction. It makes it more real. And I have had the pleasure of just watching this happen over and over and over and over again, and seeing the process of what happens in a woman's life, in a leader's life, after walking through kind of this recipe of. And there's been something about being able to have a video. We've tried very hard to make sure that every SPEAK participant gets a professionally shot and edited video, because that's what has been really a helpful tool to have people see themselves at stepping forward, and to see it to believe it. So thank you for sharing so much. I'm kind of curious, we're going to tackle the where are they now question. And I know it's been 6 years since we worked more closely together, and it's been quite some time since, some of us have even had conversations more recently. But I'm really curious if you could kind of look back on those 6 years and curate a bit of a highlights reel, or maybe it's not a highlights reel, maybe it's a high and low lights reel. I don't know. I'm curious if you could tell us about 2 or 3 kind of key events or trajectory shifts um, that you'd like to share about your leadership journey. Um, what kind of comes up for you in that highlights reel? And Kelly, I saw that you were on screen, so I'm gonna ask you to get us started again. And again, please just feel free to pass it off to each other afterwards.
Sure, thank you. I think one of the things I also really want to note in the SPEAK program is this group and connection. While we're from some different cohorts, some of the greatest connections I have made are through this program. And I think that's a really interesting added benefit to finding, that circle of support that is walking with you along the path and the journey to you stepping into, the message that you have to deliver. I love how you talked about connecting at the soul level. And I think that's really the program's allowed me to connect at the soul level and connect at a soul level to other individuals. And so that's been really beneficial to me, even in those 6 years. Some of those people I have really stayed very closely connected to. We are that support. We are that sounding board on a regular basis to each other, sharing events lots of times or different things that, is up someone's stream of interest. And so I don't think we often think about that as well. Over the past years, I think for all of us, so much has happened, but at the time where I entered SPEAK, I was a frontline manager in healthcare. And with a path, with a dream, with a goal, 3 years ago, I walked away from that career. And it was super empowering to me, super scary thing to do that, to step out of another type of comfort level. But again, SPEAK gave me this comfort. So I've had the experience to, outside of the consulting, to really be able to put myself on stage in a different perspective. That stage has led me to some international stages as well as national and provincial. And so that's exciting. I think the other thing I think about is, Julie, I heard you talk about that on screen. This at one point would have completely freaked me out. Just being on camera and camera ready and being so prepared. And so I think SPEAK really gave that experience. My international stage was on camera where I couldn't see the audience. And so, for me, I was prepared for that because SPEAK did that. SPEAK also prepared me to connect at the soul level to others, to what mattered to me most, to share my story, to share who I was at the heart of it, and giving me that confidence to do that. And so I've had the opportunity to share that story, to continue to share that story as a keynote. Also to be able to deliver a couple other keynotes I've had, and that are really that, I don't want to say less engaged, but keynotes are different than facilitation. They're different than workshops. And so I've been really excited. They bring me really great joy, great passion. And every time I get the opportunity, I'm excited about it. There's always that nervousness, like Marianne talks about, that nervousness actually, Jasmine, I think you talked about, like, I couldn't even understand my name when I first said it. That's gone away because we have this skill that's allowed us to develop that confidence, that experience, that practicing to be ready for what's next for us, and to allow us to step into that message we have to deliver. So Jasmine, tell us about you, about some of those experiences you've had.
Thanks, Kelly. So my highlight reel has been, I struggled with, trying to think about this question because I've taken so many twists and turns along the way. But since 2018, I started my business at the end of 2018. So just a few months actually after Speak. And since then, I've been helping companies reshape their leadership performance, helping leaders scale their businesses by scaling themselves, essentially. I moved everything online during COVID, and I happened to get really good at online facilitation. So that was really fun because that's, everything I do now is remote, obviously. In the last couple of years, I've really focused on writing, and I've become a best-selling author. I have a book that just came out a couple months ago. And I've really continued to grow my voice as a disruptor in a positive way. So helping people ditch conventional thinking and leadership practices to align more with the neuroscience of how human beings actually operate, and help them accelerate and make real change to lead to get where they want to go. And that's been just incredibly rewarding. My latest iteration of my business is called Ditch Dogma. So that gives you an idea of how I approach things. And like Kelly, I really was able to, through Speak, grow those skills and confidence and the ability to just show up in the way that I wanted to on stages. And I've been a speaker in the US and Singapore, recently in Istanbul, and I've done leadership work all over the world, which has been incredibly rewarding. I would say the biggest change is that I really am a different person now than I was then. I was pretty unsure, pretty scared, to be honest. It's pretty scary to start your own business, but I was still confident that I could do it. And I was really on purpose with what I wanted to bring to leaders to help them find better ways forward. Of course, there are doubters along the way, and there were people who tried to do what I was doing and failed right behind me. So that really fueled me to continue forward. So now I would say I really own my own voice, both in speaking and in writing. And it seems like a lifetime ago. I hardly recognize who I was when I first was in that first program. So thank you for that. And I'm going to pass it over to Marianne.
All right. I don't know if you noticed, but I held up your book because I bought your book. It's helped me along my journey as well. So thank you for writing it. For me, I'm going to talk about three big shifts that happened for me. One is I shifted away from fairly shortly after Speak. I shifted away from managing medical education information system projects and the operational support aspect of that to working with executive leaders and business owners to deliver high impact strategic projects. So that was one of my goals when I joined Speak. So I was pretty excited about that I made that shift. I also began giving presentations, delivering webinars. Kelly, like you mentioned, speaking on camera, to a faceless group of people was very scary, but I did it. I facilitated small group masterminds and workshops on leadership and career development, including one for young teenagers and their parents to help them kind of decide what they wanted to do for their career, as well as I was a guest speaker on a podcast. And also I had a presentation on a youth empowerment summit. So those are things that I never would have done had I not been through Speak. The other thing was, as I mentioned earlier, I shifted from being an employee to a self-employed business and project management consultant. And I don't think I would have had the confidence without going through Speak, but also seeing the people who went before me. So Kelly, Jasmine, seeing them do it, and it's it worked out. So that was, that helped fuel me. And then also to support the shift, I joined Speak 2.0. And with the help of Charlene, during our first one-on-one session, I actually gained clarity on really what my impact vision is, which is to build greater self-sufficiency of women in business and those their dream touches by helping them do their plans for their project and deliver successful and strategically aligned projects. So those are really my three big shifts that I wanted to share. And over to you, Julia.
Thank you. So I think it's that when I thought about this question of where was I and where am I now, I was a little bit stuck on answering that because so much has changed for me. And when I really think back to who I was before, I was very apologetic and very much in the background, and I never wanted to be out front, and I never wanted to sit in the front row or put my hand up or speak up, unless I was the one doing the presentation on work that I had put together, and it was science-based and data-based. Other than that, I just always wanted to be in the background, and really now I'm okay disagreeing with people, and I'm okay speaking my mind, which at the time I wasn't, because I was always very cognizant of not being liked, not being accepted, not fitting in, and not really understanding that what I had inside me mattered just as much to voice and communicate as being that likable, agreeable person. And so it was really, and I never thought that being on screen would ever be something I'd be comfortable with. And I remember sitting there doing these conversations through my iPhone and videoing myself and being like, oh my gosh, who is this person? I don't even recognize her. And now when I think about it, I haven't done this lately, but in the 6 years I have been on a podcast. I was part of a news story that Global TV did here in Calgary. I had been asked to do a Q&A for a newspaper or a magazine, and I've also written my own articles. And so that confidence and that ability to put my voice out there in various different medias comes from the Speak experience. And so now when I approach things today and where I am shifting my focus comes from really being called to look at that soul level and understand the why behind what I'm doing and where I'm going. There's always a why. Like, it's not just I want to get there. It's like the why is as important as where I'm going and what I'm focusing on. And that really was one of the big things that came out of the Speak journey that I had.
I love all your stories, and they bring back so many good memories too. I'll just touch on a couple of things before we do our kind of one of our last rounds, and that is two things that I heard you say. I think it's so important. I've always found now at 55, I can honestly say there's nothing more powerful than being able to um, have a role model or a collaborator that's just a chapter ahead of you. And I've always thought, like, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, there's nothing more powerful than having that person just a little bit ahead of you to be able to talk to just see their progress. I've always been a big believer in that. The other thing I heard someone say, which has always been a favorite question of mine, is, what are you ready for? What are you getting ready for now? Because, let's be honest, our human experience is all about what is the next experience we're readying ourselves for. Like, that's why we're here. That's growth. We want to experience that next piece that lights us up. And I heard, I heard you talk about that as well. So just those two things I wanted to touch on. I'd like to do a really quick round about if you could give advice to your younger self, whether that is maybe 5 years ago, 6 years ago, knowing what you know now, what would you, just in 1 or 2 lines, like, what would you really want to tell your younger self? And maybe this time around, I'll start with Jasmine.
Sure, thank you. I would tell myself something that I tell the CEOs that I work with all the time. Look, you are way more capable than you think, or that your brain lets you think. You are way, way more capable than you think, and you can do it in a way shorter time than you're letting yourself believe. So, if you're thinking it's a year out, you're probably capable of 6 weeks or a few months or something, right? So just continuing to compress that, like what's really possible and making it possible. And then the second thing would be to think about the next version of yourself. Who do you need to become in order to get where you want to go? So how do you need to shift yourself to create the environment for that next, whatever you're looking to accomplish, whatever you're looking to do? And to do that, you have to do shit that scares you, period. End of story. Like, do shit that scares you. That is how you're going to grow. Tiny bites, but continue to grow yourself that way. I'm going to pass it over to Julia.
Thanks. Okay, I love this question, and yet I wasn't, again, not quite sure what I really wanted to say, but what it really comes down to is don't be afraid to speak up. And you know what? It's hard and it can be uncomfortable, but it will open doors. And sometimes even if the doors close, that means there's other doors that are opening and other people are listening and they hear something and they'll be curious and they'll want to connect. And really, your voice and what you say, and when you say it out loud, it has energy, and energy moves matter. And that being able to really be honest with yourself about what it is you want and not be scared about what others will think, because I was so small back then, and now what I think and how I think and the possibilities I think on the heels of what Jasmine just said is so much bigger and so much brighter. And it really comes from, your thoughts into words, into energy, into matter. And with that, I'll pass it on to Marianne.
All right. So I would tell myself that you made the right decision, but keep listening to your heart for direction. And really, there's a few things that I regret, throughout the years. I regretted them that I wish I had done differently. Like, maybe I should have became the teacher when I, went to university. Maybe I should have pursued a career in design or tech as I learned the things that I really like to do. But because I had that fear of speaking, and also, I guess, a feeling like I wasn't good enough to start that business, or to be the teacher and stand in front of the kids and get ridiculed, I decided to go down the path of learning and development, like continual learning. Like, I kept going to school, I kept learning things, but that led me to where I am today, and I'm in the right spot. Like, I'm exactly where I need to be. And it just, everything that I had wished for in the past, they followed me. Like, I can't get rid of them. They just keep coming back. So that's what I would tell my younger self. Oh, Kelly.
I think I would tell my younger self that your story matters, and that it's important not only to your own healing, to your own growth, to your own development, but it can change the life of somebody else. And I think within that, I'd also, say the negative Nellies, the one-offs, the person who's criticizing, they don't matter. It's the ones that you touch that do. And I think, we've often talked about the ripple effect and the impact. And your story matters and has impact. And as you start to speak, connecting with that soul of who you are, about what it is you need to share, it's going to make a difference. And be ready for what that looks like. Be ready for the positivity. Be ready for someone to acknowledge you, to encourage you, to tell you good things. Because unfortunately, in this world, that's not what we get. So if you're stepping in to speak, get ready for greatness, because those words are coming at you. And they're sometimes difficult to absorb, but it means you're making a difference.
I loved so much of what you said. I could do a whole conversation with, 50 women around. What would you tell your younger self? I love all of that. I wanted to we actually have one question that's come in from a guest, and so I do want to make sure we hold some time for that. We're going to move into kind of our closing round shortly, but I think this is a really good question. I just wanted to share it with you. I don't know that you all need to answer it, but if it's burning for someone, please just speak up. Speak up. I'm curious, and thanks, Jen. Curious, before you signed up for Speak, did you know you needed it? Or had you been exploring, potential tools or resources that would be a catalyst for the situation you were looking to address or solve at the time? So I think it's around how did you make the decision? How did Speak find you? Maybe that's the question. Yeah, and I'm just curious if anyone, has an answer for that.
I
Anybody
can
remember?
go.
Yeah.
I think I was looking for something to give me more than the art of putting a good presentation together. And it was really something that was going to help me articulate and help me and challenge me to really figure out how to use my words more concisely and string the sentences together in a way that was easier to follow. And so when I wasn't really looking at other tools or other resources, but I knew there was the way that I was talking and the way that I was communicating wasn't necessarily resonating with people, and I needed to find something that allowed me to connect a little bit better. And so it was more like listening to that small inner voice, right? That's kind of something's telling you need something different, and that's really I think the big thing how I got into Speak.
Thank you. Anybody else? I don't want to cut you off. And yeah, Jasmine.
Sure. For me, it's really similar, right? I was just looking for a program to see, how can I be more effective? How can I kind of zone in on what I actually want to say and be more effective at connecting with people when I do, rather than just, feeling unprepared, scared. Even though it was kind of working, I just wanted to find a better way. And one thing that really appealed to me with Speak was the kind of steps in learning all the way through and the practice to get to this final, moment of presenting, right? It just actually walked you through. We didn't talk about talking, we actually did it.
I love that. Yeah, it's nice to hear that back. I mean, it's always been the intention. I was going to say to create an opportunity to become more intentional, more deliberate, and also to create a safe space where folks could really explore their own identity. When I look back in the last 6 years, I mean, that's been a big part of my story, coming into my own identity. And also to Julia's point, being able to speak to the things that matter really deeply to you that may or may not be a bit contentious, and to be able to hold space to listen to others And that was just such a huge journey that I had with Julia and others in that cohort. And, you know, fast forward 6 years, I mean, we need that more than ever to be able to clearly communicate what's important to us and what we value and what we believe, and be able to hold space and understanding. I may not understand you, but I'm listening and I'm trying to understand. And that's always been a really big intention with the program. I'm just going to kind of go through this last question so that we have a few minutes to just talk about the new program. I would love to just do a closing round with each of you about, you know, what are you ready for? What are you most excited about in 2025? Is there anything that we could help you amplify, you know, through this conversation and through the live streams that we are also on? What are you most excited about next year? And maybe I will start this one with Kelly.
Thanks, Shar. I think I'm just excited to continue this journey. I'm still building, still growing, because when I left my career, I took some of that time just for me to heal myself and grow. So I'm really excited to continuing to develop my keynotes. So one of them is called From Burnout to Being. It's my own personal story of how I connected back to myself in a values-based approach. And the other one is Tapping into Human Potential. And that really talks about exactly, you know, as I started our conversation earlier, was about that heart of organizations and how do you really tap in to get the best of them so they can step into your greatness and your business steps into their greatness. And so really excited about the opportunities, you know, looking for more opportunities to share that story, to make a difference for others. So if there's any opportunities that anyone's aware of there, or can promote, the webpage and Instagram, that's really what I'm looking at and excited for, and just continuing to work with the clients that are coming on board for team building and consulting, and really helping them to integrate to be successful leaders in businesses. Just, here at home, or internationally, or wherever they are. We all need those leaders, and that's important to me.
Julia, I'm going to pass it over to you, my friend. What are you most excited about?
I am most excited about taking some steps for myself, and I can't say too much right now, but I am. I'm really excited to step out and step away from my comfort zone and into the unknown, and just test the concepts that I have been really wanting to do for a very, very long time. And it's in its infancy, so that's all I can say right now, but I'm super excited about it.
I love it. And you always know that we're here to walk beside you. Thank you for sharing that. Marianne, what are you most excited about?
Well, I'm really excited about embracing a new way of getting paid to do what I love, and bringing my impact vision to life. Specifically, I guess, in addition to doing my working on longer term project management contracts, I'm creating a new offer, like a new service, to be able to work with me virtually on, a short-term basis to create your project success plan, to identify those strategies that help you get unstuck, your projects get unstuck, and then delivered successfully. So I'm calling it OBM for a day, which is Online Business Management Consultant for a day. But we all know that project planning takes longer than a day. So it's sort of, I'm just working on a concept to spread it out over, I think it might be like a 2 or 3 week period where you do some pre-work, and then we get together near the end and we build that plan together over short little bursts of time. So I'm looking for people who want to work with me to sort of as a beta client and put that together. I do have it on my website. I'm still working on it, but feel free to connect with me through my website or even on LinkedIn, because I know that those will be in the below as well. So that's what I'm most excited about.
Awesome. Jasmine, over to you.
Okay, so for me, it's a little bit different. I am excited about semi-retirement and enjoying my life with my husband, the projects that we're working on together, leading a really integrated life where we work and play and enjoy the days and actually feel alive. We've been traveling for the last 2 years overseas, and we've decided to be in Thailand for the next 5, starting in January. So I'm really excited about that. And I'm looking forward to remotely doing some CEO coaching, some leadership workshops with people who want to make real change and ditch old ways that aren't working. I'll be in Canada in June, so we'll see what that brings as well. So what 2025 really comes down to for me is living a really integrated life and being present, enjoying it, showing up in the world, and helping other people do the same.
I love it. I love all the whisperings that I can hear coming through. Yeah, and please, circle back as we walk towards 2025. I want to thank you all for being here, being part of this conversation. I will close by saying there's many things I'm really excited about, but I think that's part of my personality. That's part of the growth. And one of the things I'm most excited about is relaunching Speak. This time around, for it to be a global opportunity. We've had some great interest from all sorts of interesting parts of the globe. We're currently, chatting with folks that want to be Speak champions. And what does that look like? What does PowHERtalks look like in other parts of the world? Just how, what is the role? What is the impact that this program is meant to have at this point in time in history? And I think how can my work, this work, the work of Powerhouse, and also, now the work of Regen as a media company, how do we just keep making transformative systemic change in a good way at a soul level? So for folks that are interested to learn more about the relaunch of Speak, we have added a special little incentive to our program because we would love for you to take a good look at it for 2025. And for anyone that might happen to see this on the live stream, we are absolutely serious about Speak champions and ambassadors and advocates all over the world to see what is possible and what is meant to happen as this moves forward. Thank you all for being here. Thank you to the panelists, friends, colleagues, and powerhouses. And yeah, I hope everyone has a really good close to 2024 and a great intentional opening to 2025, where we can bring more possibility into reality. Thank you so much for being here. Have a great rest of your day or night.